Snap down, kick is away. It is good! Good! Red Wolves walk it off in Mobile.
You saw it there, a big win for our football team. Jacob Caton, Caton Marsh here covering that and everything else that happened this week in A-State sports here on Red Wolf Roundtable. Welcome. Getting things kicked off, kind of going over what we're going to be going over today. Getting the brooms out on the road. A-State goes out. All of our sports teams played away this week, and we won.
A lot of these.
Yes.
A lot of these.
W's
Hey,
all
what
around.
did Jameis say? What did Jameis Winston say? You got to eat the W. We ate the W. We did it 4 times, by the way. 4 times.
Yeah. Talking about soccer, they get their first conference win on the road. Offense broke through, got some upcoming conference games as well for them. And then volleyball, a clean sweep in Monroe, Louisiana. Yes, got the brooms out there. And then football, the first road win of the season, finally got through that. And then we're going to look forward at some Sun Belt play going into the rest of the season. So be sure to stay tuned here on Red Wolf Roundtable. We'll be right back.
ASU-TV, shows like Red Wolf Roundtable, ASU-TV News, Westside Football, and more. Gain real-life experience while doing what you love. Get involved with ASU-TV today.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Jacob Caton, Caton Marsh. Talking about some football action, Arkansas State gets their first road win of the season, which was something that they had been struggling with all season up to this point. Goes down to Mobile, Alabama, pulls out the win on a last-second Clune Van Andel 3-point field goal.
Yeah, exactly. This is where we got our bowl win last year. So we have familiar territory down there. And luckily, we walked out with a win. I will say that... Where do you want to start? Where do you want to start about this game? Because I have a lot to say.
Yeah, I know you do.
Really sure.
I just want to say, A-State did great in the fourth quarter, I thought. Offense was good, defense was good. But up until then, we kind of struggled.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to figure out where you were at on this, because the first 3 quarters, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot. Especially, I think our second drive, we had a 4th down conversion that was in enemy territory, but it got called back because of a holding. And then we had a punt return where our player stepped out of bounds, had illegal touching, set us back. Then we had a holding on a punt, and it moved South up out of their 15 into their 25. We had face mask call that moved them up even more. So there were a lot of penalties that we got, and it kind of shot ourselves in the foot. And I wasn't really too happy with the offense either. I thought they played really slow. There wasn't a lot of progressions. I thought Rayner struggled a little bit, but he picked up steam. I think we saw the run game struggle too early on, and then as well they picked up steam. Defense, I'm super happy with the defense. We talked about defense for a long time and how that they've needed to improve. And ULM was kind of where we started to see the glimpse of hope with them, and I think they pulled through this game. We did give up some some unwarranted plays, I would say.
Yes.
There was a lot of short stuff that we gave up. And
Still a little bit of a struggle to stop the run as a
Yeah.
whole. And
But-
that's something we've struggled with all year, but we are getting better at it.
we cleaned it up. We cleaned it up quite a bit, and I think one of the same problems that we had this game, similar to the ULM game, was the tackling. I think the tackling was our biggest issue when it came to defense. I thought they played the run game a lot better than we've seen throughout the whole year, in all honesty, because South Howell is known for the running. But that's the thing is, we couldn't finish the first tackle again this week, and I think that caused the run game for South Howell to be a lot better than what it should have been. Do I think this defense stepped up a lot? Absolutely. I'm super proud of them. We saw a sack on the first drive. We saw Ethan Hassler get a sack and a fumble. Luckily, South Howell recovered, so we didn't get that. But we saw a lot of things that we haven't seen in the past. We saw defensive presence on the defensive line, and we saw the run game be more manageable in the past. So I'm really happy with how the defense have played. I think the offense is kind of what we should focus on the most when considering
Yes,
this win.
and you see the graphic here, 15-14 the final score, 118 pass yards for South Howell. We held them, defense did a pretty good job at holding them to 118 passing, 175 rushing, which is pretty good considering South Howell averages over 200 yards rushing per game. We saw that last week. And then fourth down conversions is a big deal. A-State had 3 of them. 3 for 3 on fourth down conversions in kind of some crunch time there. And then, of course, our passing and our rush. Passing offense, I thought, did a very good job, especially towards the end of the game. But do want to highlight Jalen Rayner a little bit. 29 for 45, 209 passing, 1 touchdown. And then he had 14 carries on the ground for 76 yards. And, of course, Kyle Taylor, we talked about him, the defensive back last week for A-State. Last week he had a season and career high of 12 tackles. Well, this week he broke it, 14 tackles for Mr. Kyle Taylor. And then, of course, we can't forget Mr. Clune Van Andel, Mr. Clune, ice in his veins, Van Andel, as you can see here.
He has a very, very special leg for us.
Oh, yes, he does.
We appreciate him greatly.
He was 3 for 4, 75%, had the game winner, and does he have ice in his veins? He obviously does, because this is the only time this season that we've seen him nail a crucial field goal in a game.
You know, an interesting thing I saw last night was one of our players, Cedric Franklin. He's a defensive back, transfer from Georgia State. He was talking to Clune Van Andel on the sideline right before the kick, right before the game winner. What did he ask Clune? He said, are you ready? He said, I'm made for this. Went out there and kicked it, and it was good. And we got the win, our first road win this year.
Absolutely. You love to see that kind of confidence in college athletes, especially in times like that. And we saw it last week, and we've seen it this week, and hopefully we see it coming up more this season. We'll be right back after this break where we will review some soccer and volleyball happenings this past week here at Arkansas State University.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Talking about some soccer. Soccer gets their first conference win this weekend against Southern Mississippi.
Yeah, this was an exciting win for this Arkansas State team. They have struggled early on in conference play. As you said, they haven't had a win in conference, and this was the team to do it against. Southern Miss.
And you called it last week.
Yeah, Southern Miss has struggled big time offensively and defensively, and it obviously showed. I will say, I liked the aggressiveness out of Arkansas State. Would I have liked to see more? Absolutely. We got outpaced. But that being said, our defense stepped up big time, big time, big time. Every time Southern Miss was in Arkansas State territory, Arkansas State swarmed them, and they didn't give them any room, didn't give them any time. That one goal came off a penalty kick. Was it a penalty? I don't know. It kind of looked fishy. Who knows? But either way, this team stepped up big time. I think this is a good momentum driver for us, like you said, and like first win for conference play. And we haven't really seen an offense like this since non-conference. I think since conference play, it's really slowed down. We haven't seen double-digit shots in a long time. I think I don't remember the last time we saw double-digit shots. So this was a good momentum shifter for us. And guess who got their first goal this season? Miss Keelan Peacock.
Who you said last week would get her first goal of the week. You called several things last week when we were talking about this game that ended up coming true. Again, the defense, I think, looked phenomenal. Like you said, they swarmed them when they were in their territory. Offense came alive, which is something we haven't seen. A first conference win, and Miss Kennedy Horn led the team in scoring. She had 2 goals, so congratulations to Miss Kennedy Horn. She did a phenomenal job.
She's doing what she does best.
Yes, she is.
To get the ball in the net.
And we see it right here. Goals, 2, shots on goal, she had 3 of them. Shot percentage, like 2/3 of her shots. And then 1 assist as well. So Miss Kennedy Horn getting back at it, doing some great things in Sunbelt. I'm sure everybody in the Sunbelt probably has their eyes on her. Like we said at the beginning of the season, they probably would. Their record will go to 3-5-4 and 1-4-1 in conference play.
Before we move on, I did want to say something real quick about the offensive side of things. And the one thing I've noticed with this Arkansas State soccer team is they do a really good job on converting at a high rate. We shot 50% when we obviously went towards the goal, and I think that's a great thing to have. Like I said earlier, I kind of wish we would have a little bit more and see more shots being put out there, but one thing I really like to appreciate about this team is how efficient they are when getting the ball in the goal.
Absolutely, absolutely. Moving into volleyball, a sweep at Louisiana Monroe. Yes, great team effort by the Lady Red Wolves. We saw lots of phenomenal performances here this week. We see it here, 54 kills, 8 aces, 6 blocks, and their attack percentage was 46.9%. They dominated.
Jacob, one thing I was super excited to talk about this week was how well this volleyball team was. I think previously when we talked about when they were playing ULM, I think I was putting them too far on a pedestal, to be honest with you. They had a really good record going into this game, and I thought, well, they might give us a run for our money. Who knows? That was quite the opposite. Arkansas State showed exactly who they are this game, and that is the champions. And they just clean sweeped them twice in a fashionable manner. I think one of the good things about this game was they took advantage of ULM's messy defense, I would like to say. ULM didn't really have a blocking attack, and I think that showed because every time that they got to the net, ULM was either too late or it almost seemed like they were too short. Maybe I'm wrong, but it almost seemed as if they got short-armed when they're blocking attempts, and that set up their backcourt defenders with a terrible leverage because that ball is hurtling straight to them at who knows what speed because they hit really hard. Arkansas State does. But they played well offensively, they played well defensively, they played serving, they limited errors. There was nothing this Arkansas State team couldn't do against ULM, and I think every single player on this team, we're talking about Addison Cullen, we're talking about Caitlin Willock, we're talking about Deidreana Kale, we're talking about Devin Lewis, we're talking about Aaron Madigan. There's so many players. Everybody played so well, and there's so many players to highlight that it's hard to choose who to highlight.
You know, we were talking about that before the game, or before the show earlier, and like we didn't highlight anybody last week because they all played really well. This week, you know, you said Gluns, Madigan, Kale Collum all played spectacularly, but we want to take a look at Caitlin Whitlock. Whitlock has been on a tear this entire season. You see it here, had 15 kills, 7 digs, and an attack percentage of 63.6% with 15 points.
That is... An attack percentage of 63% is unreal. And to put that in perspective, everybody on our team except for one person hit over 40%. So offense was moving on all cylinders, and ULM had no answer. And it was pretty clear to see that that was the case.
Absolutely. Again, another dominant performance by our Lady Red Wolves volleyball team. Their record improves to 11-6 and 4-2 in conference, and we will get into who they play next in our next segment, so stay tuned here on Red Wolf Roundtable.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you howl.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Welcome back as we take a look at what soccer is doing this week. Playing at home versus Georgia State. Like you said, defense has been really good, looks really good against Southern Miss. Offense is where the question's at. It's been slow, but it picked up a little last week. Georgia State, your thoughts?
So, yeah, that's a great point that you brought up. Marsh has played amazing as a goalie for us this year, and I think the defensive side of the ball for soccer has played really well, especially in conference play. It was slow in non-conference, but we haven't seen a lot of offense, and we're playing Georgia State this week. And Georgia State, I believe, is ranked second in the East. So it is a tough opponent. I believe they're 4-0-2 in conference play. So it's going to be a tough opponent, and maybe another statement game for Arkansas State. I think the Southern Miss game should be taken with a grain of salt with how bad they've performed this year, but I still think it's a good stepping stone in the right direction. Can that mean that we beat Georgia State? I sure hope so. We saw a lot of glimpses of that offense coming live that we haven't seen in the past. So as long as I keep that up, keep the defense out of the ball up, I think, of course, but it's going to rely a lot on that offense, and hopefully that keeps moving forward in the positive direction.
Absolutely, and this is another Sun Belt matchup, of course, not in the same division. They are in the East, and we are in the West. So we will get to see that preview. Again, home at Jonesboro this week. Volleyball also plays at home against Texas State. We have our record at 11-6 and 2-2 in conference, or 4-2 in conference, excuse me. Texas State, a little bit of a difficult challenge, and they have been in the past for us, at least.
Yeah, that's the thing is this year I think they've kind of taken a step backwards. They were, I believe, picked to finish first in the Sun Belt, and I believe they were the ones that beat us out in the championship game last year. So this is a statement game for Arkansas State, and I believe that they can pull it out. The way that they've been playing, it's pretty much undoubtedly the best that we've seen in a long time, and they cleaned up their mistakes, and I think one of their mistakes over the past few weeks was that middle part of the defense and the deeper part of the court, and they cleaned that up really well against ULM. We didn't really see a lot of deep shots from ULM, so I feel like the Texas State game might be a testament to our defense. Hopefully they continue also in the right direction, but the blocking game for us is unreal. When you have Deidreana Kale up front, you have Haley Gluns up front, and you have multiple others. Blocking game and the defense is undeniable, as well as our offense. As long as we can keep that conversion rate, that efficiency rate, I think we can take Texas State at home and prove that we're the best.
All right, you heard it here. We will look forward to that this weekend, again, Friday and Saturday at First National Bank Arena. The Lady Red Wolves take on Texas State. So don't miss it. We'll be right back as we will preview some football and quite possibly dabble in a little bit of basketball. So stay right here.
Red Wolf Radio is a student-led organization at Arkansas State University wanting to hear your takes on pop culture, music, the news, and college life. Just about anything you can think of. Located in the Education and Communications building on campus, we are always looking for more volunteers. So if you're an Arkansas State University student, no matter the major, and this is something that interests you, shoot us an email at redwolfradio@astate.edu. That's redwolfradio@astate.edu. Let them hear you how.
Students should watch ASU-TV just to see the creativity that a college student can get. The creativity that some of these students have is truly amazing. Getting that experience can really just take you further, and I feel like our program does that for a lot of students.
I think one of the things I learned at Arkansas State was life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it, and that's just something that I live by.
A-State is home, and they're going to treat you like you're a part of the family.
Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. So we start our final segment of the day, talking about some football. Now we do have a bye week this week. Nobody's playing. The rest of the Sun Belt is. A-State has a little bit of rest after they had played last Saturday. They had played yesterday, and now they get a weekend off until the 25th, where they play at home against Georgia Southern for homecoming. Want to talk about what the rest of the Sun Belt, at least the Sun Belt West, looks like right now. Taking a look at the standings, we've got Southern Miss and Troy both in first, and then Arkansas State standing at third right now after that win over South Alabama last night. ULM, Louisiana, Texas State, and South Al all kind of below, and a few of those struggling. But you know, This isn't what the West was predicted to be this year.
No, absolutely not. We see the two powerhouses at 5 and 6 are the bottom of the pack here, and we guess who's number one? Southern Miss. That was very, very uncanny, and definitely not predicted to happen considering how bad they've been. But that being said, Southern Miss has played phenomenal this year, and I think they're one of the powerhouses now in the West. Louisiana has come on pretty good in the conference ever since they started Lunch Winfield. Texas State still really good, even though they're 0-2. You can expect them to move up. ULM, kind of a dark horse that we didn't expect to play as well. And then,
we saw how South Al went last night.
That's South Al. But Arkansas State, we're sitting at number 3 right now. That might change in the next coming days, considering that we are the most points for, considering we've played the most games, and it is really dependent on those other two teams sitting at 1-1 to make up for that, and that might switch the rankings up. But the Sun Belt West this year is completely changed from years past. We're seeing new teams come on. And that's really the whole Sun Belt, to be honest with you. You're seeing a lot of teams switch on and off, and how they've played, and especially with Coastal, they've dropped down. Old Dominion has shot up. JMU's still sitting where they're at, top of the top. But that being said, the Sun Belt in football has grown exponentially, And we've seen a lot of teams that we haven't seen in the past. And we thought Old Dominion would have been ranked this week if they beat Marshall. But guess what? Marshall clobbered them.
You never know what's going to happen. I feel like the Sun Belt is kind of one of those conferences where anybody can really come up and beat anybody. There's no like upper tier like there is in like the SEC or any of those other conferences. We're all pretty evenly matched if we are coached well and play correctly. So,
but that being said, I think moving forward, when you consider that we still have to play Southern Miss, we still have to play Louisiana, those teams are going to be tough opponents. That being said, what is it going to look like for us? Well, those two teams in specific have really high-powered offenses. Southern Miss had the Sun Belt Player of the Year in Braylon Braxton, and he's continuing what he's doing. And obviously, I mentioned Lunch Winfield. So
got to look out for others like App State too, who have a strong run game and passing game as well.
So it's going to be a lot on our defense. I think obviously the offense needs to step up. They kind of struggled last night, and it wasn't a good thing to see South now do that to us in that manner. So I think there still needs to be a lot of improvement. I think we saw the defense improve quite a bit, but there's still some things lacking like pass rush and some coverage. And then offense, obviously the run game needs to pick up in some kind of area with our running backs. And then hopefully we can tighten up the accuracy issues from here and there. And we can convert those touchdowns that we usually don't get. So moving forward, I think this will be a challenging rest of schedule. Don't get me wrong. But if we can do what we did last night in a certain fashion and pick up the offense that we saw with Texas State, it can come together quite well, and we can surprise a lot of people.
Arkansas State's record is 3-4 overall and 2-1 in the Sun Belt. Of course, like you said, competition getting kind of stiff, but we will see how that plays out the rest of the season. Something I want to touch on, you know I've been excited about this. Basketball season, baby. All right. Hoops and Howls happened the other night, and it was sold out. That shows you how ecstatic this community is, Jonesboro, Arkansas is, for basketball season. This is the part of the state of Arkansas that loves basketball, and we can see that. That was very evident in the attendance at the Hoops and Howls event. It was sold out, completely sold out. People were excited to be there. New coach coming in, Ryan Pannone coming in, brings a whole new staff, brings a whole new roster, brings a whole new way to play. We're going to have some fun with this season this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you pretty much summed it up perfectly. This team in the past was the team to beat in the Sun Belt, and it disbanded like that in a span of a month. We saw everybody say they're transferring out. We saw our coach that got an extension move to South Florida. I got my finger on you, Brian Hodgkinson. But this team is new, completely new. Quite to literally every square inch of this roster. There's not a single returning player. We have new staff all the way down to the creative team. I told you that yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. I don't think there's anything not to be excited about because, well, it is completely new. And we have a lot of great talent that came in through the transfer portal. And we have a great coach that also came in.
Absolutely. We've talked about what this season is going to look like. Of course, Arkansas State starts their season in about 3 weeks, playing against Ohio in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. So we'll see how that goes. Got some big games against SMU, Rice, and North Dakota State, and St. Mary's. So we've got some big games on the schedule this year. I'm excited to see how non-conference pans out, and even more excited to see how Sun Belt play pans out.
You know what? We forgot to mention the women's basketball starts soon too.
Yes,
and
women's basketball is going to be a show. We still
exactly.
have pretty much the entire returning roster, coach, and then everybody else. I'm excited to see how they do. Defending Sun Belt champions, by the way, made their first berth in the NCAA tournament last year and are looking to go again.
Yeah, they were picked to finish, second to last last year, and they proved everybody wrong. Coach Des is like that. This roster is like that. We got new players and a lot of retention. And one of the key players, Winter Rogers and Crystalyn Rose, those are two of the main factors that contributed offensively to this team, and I'm super excited to see women's basketball, especially at the head of Coach Des. She's an amazing person, an amazing coach. They still have a lot to prove, but they're here in the Sun Belt to stay for a long time.
That's going to wrap up our show this week.
Wait, Jacob, real quick, can you see? Can I have that button down there?
Okay.
All right, this button, a very special button, and I wanted to press it a couple times for Arkansas State. So, South Owl, here you go. Southern Miss, here you go. And ULM, you get a special one. You get 2.
Thank you for that, Caton. That was wonderful.
We're new owners of those territories.
We are. We are, especially now that we went down there and got all of those wins, and we look to get more next week. Thank you for watching Red Wolf Roundtable. I'm Jacob Cater. This is Caton Marsh. We'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.